Men, anger is the moment when all filters come down and truth emerges. When a woman is angry, she stops performing, stops managing your perception, and says what she actually thinks. Before we start, hit subscribe, drop a like, and comment if you've ever heard one of these statements during an argument and later realized it revealed exactly how she really felt all along. Your engagement helps other men recognize truth hiding in angry moments. Statement 1, you're just like every other guy, or all men are the same. When she says you're just like every other guy, no different from the rest, or lumps you in with all men during an argument, most men hear this as generic frustration or her being dramatic. It's actually revealing she's never seen you as special or unique. She's been comparing you to other men the entire relationship, and you failed to distinguish yourself as different from the generic male category in her mind. What this statement actually reveals? This statement reveals she's categorized you as interchangeable with other men rather than valuing you as unique individual. Women who say this during anger are exposing that they've been evaluating you against generic male standards the whole time, not appreciating your specific qualities. You're fungible in her mind, easily replaceable by any other man who meets basic requirements. Notice the contempt embedded in this statement. When she groups you with all men as though being male is inherently disappointing or problematic, she's expressing fundamental disrespect for your gender and for you specifically. This isn't temporary anger. This is her genuine belief that men, including you, are categorically deficient. She's been thinking this throughout the relationship, not just in this angry moment. Watch whether she's said variations of this before or if this is the first time it's emerged. If she's made comments about men being disappointing, not understanding things, or being problematic in calmer moments, this angry statement is just the unfiltered version of thoughts she expresses more carefully when not upset. If this is the first direct statement, her anger has revealed thoughts she normally conceals. Pay attention to what specific failure triggered this statement. If you forgot something and she responds that you're like every other guy, she's revealing she expected you to forget because she categorizes all men as forgetful and unreliable. If you prioritized something she disagrees with and she responds this way, she's showing that she believes men have inherently wrong priorities. The trigger reveals what male behavior she's mentally grouped you into. Observe whether this statement comes with comparisons to specific other men. If she references ex-partners, her father, or men she knows while saying you're the same, she's directly comparing you to men who've disappointed her. You're not being evaluated on your own merits. You're being judged as another example of male inadequacy that she's experienced before. Notice whether she ever apologizes for or walks back this statement after calming down. If she never addresses it or dismisses it as just something said in anger, she's confirming the thought is genuine. If she apologizes and claims she didn't mean it, evaluate whether her apology seems genuine or if she's just managing the damage from exposing her real thoughts. Why this reveals her true feelings. This statement reveals she fundamentally doesn't value you as individual. She sees you as generic representative of a category she holds in contempt. When someone tells you you're interchangeable with everyone else of your gender, they're expressing that nothing about you specifically matters to them. You could be replaced by any other man, and the relationship would be essentially the same in her mind. This is devastating truth that anger has exposed. Statement 2. I should have listened to family about you. When she says she should have listened to warnings from friends or family about you, that people told her you weren't right for her, or that others saw problems she ignored, most men focus on feeling judged by her social circle. It's actually revealing she's discussed your flaws with others repeatedly. She's been having doubts validated by people close to her, and she's been second-guessing the relationship far longer than you realized. What this statement actually reveals. This statement reveals she's been processing dissatisfaction with you through conversations with friends or family who've been reinforcing her negative perceptions. She's built a support network around the narrative that you're problematic or inadequate. When she references their warnings, she's telling you that multiple people in her life see problems with you that she's been discussing, validating, and agreeing with privately. Notice that this means she's been sharing negative information about you with others consistently enough that they've formed opinions and offered warnings. One complaint to a friend is normal venting. Repeated discussions that lead to warnings mean she's been building case against you with her social circle, and they've seen enough evidence to tell her you're not right for her. Watch what specific warnings she references. If friends warned her you weren't ambitious enough, she's been complaining about your career or drive. If family said you weren't treating her well enough, she's been sharing grievances about how you handle the relationship. Each warning reveals a complaint category she's been processing with others behind your back. Pay attention to when these warnings supposedly occurred. If people warned her early in the relationship, she's been having doubts from the beginning that she never resolved. If warnings came later, her complaints to others escalated to the point where people intervened. Either timeline reveals she's been dissatisfied far longer than this argument and has been seeking validation for leaving from people close to her. Observe the tone when she references these warnings. If she says it with regret, she's genuinely wishing she'd listened and is using this argument as potential exit point. If she says it as weapon to hurt you, she's wielding her social circle's negative opinions as ammunition, knowing it damages your standing, not just with her but with people who matter in her life. Notice whether you knew she was discussing relationship problems with others. If you had no idea friends or family had opinions about your adequacy as a partner, she's been having entire conversations about relationship problems that you didn't know existed. This reveals massive communication breakdown where she processes issues with everyone except you. Why this reveals her true feelings. This statement reveals she's been building exit narrative with social support backing for leaving. When she references warnings from others, she's showing you that relationship problems you might think are resolvable have been discussed, analyzed, and judged inadequate by multiple people she trusts. She's been preparing emotionally and socially for potential ending while you thought things were basically fine. Her anger has exposed that she's far closer to leaving than you understood. Statement 3, I've been settling, or I deserve better than this. When she says she's been settling for you, she deserves better, or she's compromised what she wanted to be with you. Most men hear this as her being dramatic or trying to hurt them. It's actually revealing she genuinely believes she's lowered her standards to be with you. She's been disappointed by the gap between what she wanted and what you provide, and she stayed while feeling the relationship is beneath what she deserves. What this statement actually reveals. This statement reveals she's been evaluating the relationship as insufficient the entire time while staying anyway. She's categorized you as compromise rather than genuine desire. When she tells you she's settling, she's exposing that being with you has felt like accepting less than she wanted, not like being with someone who meets her standards. Notice the implications about how she's viewed you from the start. Settling means she knew you weren't what she actually wanted but chose you anyway, for reasons other than genuine preference. Maybe you were available, stable, or good enough when better options weren't present. She's revealing you've been placeholder or practical choice, not genuine desire. Watch what specific areas she implies she's settled in. If she says this during financial arguments, she's telling you she wanted someone who provided more economically. If it comes up around status or achievement discussions, she wanted someone more impressive. If it's about attraction or passion, she's admitting you're not what she actually desired physically or emotionally. The context reveals where she believes you're inadequate. Pay attention to whether she mentions what she actually wanted. If she compares you to specific qualities, accomplishments, or types of men she originally sought, she's showing you the standard she measured you against and found you lacking. If she's vague about what better looks like, she just knows you're not it. which is almost worse because any improvement might still not be enough. Observe whether this connects to her expressing deserving better. When women say they deserve better, they're revealing they've conceptualized the relationship as them giving more than they're receiving. They've kept score and determined you're not providing adequate return on their investment. This isn't temporary frustration. This is calculated assessment of relationship value proposition. Notice if she's said variations of this before, or if anger made her finally voice long-held thoughts. If she's made comments about what she gave up to be with you, what she could have had, or what she sacrifices in the relationship, this angry statement is just the direct version of ongoing resentment. If this is new, her anger has broken through the filter that prevented her from expressing how she's really felt about the relationship value. Why this reveals her true feelings. This statement reveals she's been fundamentally unsatisfied with you as a partner, but stayed anyway. When someone tells you they've settled for you, they're saying you're not what they wanted, you're what they accepted when they couldn't get better. They've been disappointed by choosing you and have stayed while feeling the relationship is beneath them. This is core belief about your inadequacy that anger has finally made explicit. Statement 4. You never, or you always. Absolute statements about your character. When she uses absolute statements like, you never listen, you always do this, you never consider my feelings, or you always prioritize yourself, most men focus on defending against the specific accusation. It's actually revealing she's built fixed narrative about your character flaws that she's reinforced repeatedly in her mind, and she's no longer giving you credit for individual actions because she's categorized you as fundamentally deficient in these areas. What this statement actually reveals. This statement reveals she's moved from seeing specific behaviors as isolated incidents to seeing them as proof of your unchangeable character. When someone uses always and never language, they've stopped giving you credit for exceptions or improvements. They've decided your flaws are permanent character traits, not behaviors that fluctuate. This means she's given up believing you'll change because she's conceptualized these problems as who you are, not what you do. Notice that absolute statements are factually untrue, but emotionally true to her experience. You probably don't literally never listen or always prioritize yourself. But in her perception, the pattern is so consistent that exceptions don't matter anymore. She's filtered her memories to support the narrative that you're consistently failing in these areas, and contradicting evidence no longer registers. Watch what specific character flaws she's identified with absolute language. If it's about emotional availability, she's decided you're fundamentally incapable of meeting her emotional needs. If it's about consideration, she believes you're inherently selfish. If it's about reliability, she's categorized you as permanently undependable. Each absolute statement reveals an area where she's given up expecting different behavior. Pay attention to whether you've tried to improve in these areas before. If you have made efforts and she still uses absolute language, she's not tracking your improvement because she's committed to the narrative that you're inadequate. Her perception is locked regardless of your behavior changes. If you haven't tried to improve, her absolute statements reflect consistent patterns that have convinced her change won't happen. Observe whether she's expressed these thoughts before in softer language. Often, absolute statements during arguments are culminations of thoughts that started as sometimes you or occasionally you, but have hardened into always and never over time. The evolution from conditional to absolute language marks her movement from frustration to contempt, which is extremely dangerous for relationship survival. Notice if she's receptive to evidence contradicting the absolute statement. If you point out times you did listen or didn't prioritize yourself, and she dismisses those examples, she's committed to the fixed narrative. If she acknowledges exceptions, but maintains the general criticism, she recognizes pattern while potentially still being open to change. Her response reveals whether she's stated observation or delivered verdict. Why this reveals her true feelings. Absolute statements reveal she's moved from addressing behaviors to judging character. When she's decided you always or never do something, she's given up believing you'll change because she's convinced herself these are permanent traits. This is stage where resentment has hardened into contempt. Research shows contempt is the strongest predictor of relationship failure. Her angry absolute statements are revealing she's reached the point where she sees your flaws as unchangeable, which typically precedes relationship ending. Statement 5. Maybe we shouldn't be together, or I don't know if I can do this anymore. When she says maybe you shouldn't be together, questions whether the relationship can continue, or expresses doubt about your future during an argument, most men panic and try to convince her to stay. It's actually revealing she's been seriously considering ending the relationship. She's evaluated whether she'd be better off without you, and she's testing what happens if she verbalizes thoughts about leaving that she's had privately. What this statement actually reveals. This statement reveals she's already mentally rehearsed leaving. People don't spontaneously suggest ending relationships during arguments unless they've thought about it before. When she verbalizes doubt about the relationship during anger, she's expressing consideration that's been developing in her mind for a while. She's already imagined what life without you looks like and found it potentially preferable to continued relationship. Notice that threatening to leave during arguments is either manipulation tactic or genuine consideration. If she's done this multiple times and never followed through, she's learned that mentioning leaving makes you panic and comply with whatever she wants. If this is first or rare occurrence, she's likely expressing genuine doubt that anger has given her permission to voice. Watch how specific her exit language is. If she says maybe we shouldn't be together vaguely, she's testing the waters. If she says she's thought about leaving, mentions specific plans, or describes what her life would be like without you, she's done significant mental preparation for ending things. The more detailed the exit narrative, the more serious the consideration has been. Pay attention to what triggered this statement. If it came from relatively minor argument, the disproportion reveals that small incidents are triggering large doubts because she's already near her limit. If it came from major conflict, assess whether the conflict alone justifies questioning the relationship or whether accumulated grievances have brought her to breaking point, with this being the final straw. Observe what she says she wants if you respond with alarm. If she immediately walks back the statement and says she didn't mean it, she might have been testing your reaction or expressing temporary overwhelm. If she doubles down and lists reasons why leaving might make sense, she's been seriously evaluating this option and is using the argument as opportunity to begin exit conversation. Notice whether she's made changes suggesting preparation for independence. Has she been more financially separate, spending more time with friends without you, or making plans that don't include you? Behavioral signs of creating independent life, combined with verbal expressions of doubt, reveal she's not just considering leaving in theory, but potentially preparing for it practically. Why this reveals her true feelings. This statement reveals she's evaluated whether she'd be better off without you and hasn't definitively concluded she wouldn't be. When someone expresses doubt about relationship viability during arguments, they're far closer to leaving than most partners realize. She's essentially told you that staying with you is question in her mind, not certainty. Whether she follows through immediately or not, this reveals the relationship is on shaky foundation and she's actively weighing whether to leave.